the war in the Mideast rages on. More U.S.-Israeli strikes hit the Iranian capital today, and Israel again bombarded Lebanon. A severe weather front sweeping across much of the eastern half of the U.S. has dumped heavy snow around the upper Midwest, spawned thunderstorms in the south, and is now threatening several mid-Atlantic states with heavy rain and possible tornadoes. The storm chain brought blizzard conditions yesterday to the upper Midwest. The Department of Homeland Security has gone 1 month without funding. That forces TSA workers and other employees to go without paychecks. Stock prices in positive territory. This is SRN News.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-583-0141. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-583-0141. That's 800-583-0141. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
The following program is a paid advertisement and does not necessarily represent the views, opinions, or endorsements of Signal Hill Media Partners, its affiliate stations, or its advertisers.
That's not going to
Welcome to Taking Care of NC, the program dedicated to exploring the issues, opportunities, and challenges shaping the great state of North Carolina. Join your host, Representative Jeff McNeely, as he delves into meaningful discussions about politics, community initiatives, and the people working to make a difference. Whether it's tackling local concerns, highlighting state achievements, or addressing pressing legislative matters, this show is your go-to source for understanding how North Carolina is growing and thriving. Stay tuned as we kick off another insightful episode of Taking Care of NC.
Good morning, North Carolina. Hope everybody's doing well out there this morning. It's one of those days I ain't sure what's getting ready to happen, but I'm afraid some bad weather's coming. So be prepared. That's always the main thing. Bad weather, be prepared. Get whatever you think you're going to need in case things go the wrong way and you're out of power or whatever. And I pray you stay safe. And they're calling for maybe chances of tornadoes even. And I think it's going to be more east of us. But, hey, you never know. So keep your eyes open and pay attention. Hopefully we'll just get some rain today, and that'll be it. I got a real good show coming on. Good show today. I got my guest, Congressman Pat Harrigan, here for the, I think we are the 13th district. I got to get my districts right here. Excuse me, 10th. We're 10th, not 13th. I got to get it right. The 10th district, which covers basically Iredell, I think Catawba, Lincoln, Davie, part of Forsyth. Might be Yadkin, too, in there, I think. I got to remember all these. Pretty big area. But doing a real good job for us. And so he'll be on about 11:35, something like that. So hopefully hear from him. But, hey, happy St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. Top of the day to you. I always say leave it up to the Irish to come up with a drinking holiday right in the middle of Lent. Just like them. So go figure. But hey, want to kind of go back a little bit. Didn't get to talk to it much. I had General Mel Speece on yesterday. And if anybody would like to call in the first part of the show, I'll take calls. I know it's a little different, but 704-873-9929. Give us a holler. I want to talk. But didn't talk a lot about our local election here in Iredell last time. Talked more about Phil Berger and Sam Page, and that's still ongoing. Page is still in the lead. There probably will be a recount. I don't know if there'll have to be a hand recount completely or a partial hand count and the rest tabulated. We'll see how they go about that. But here locally, kind of different. On our county commission level, actually had an incumbent beat. And the thing that I think is unique about this is that's the first time I can remember in close to 40 years that an incumbent has been upseated that ran for a re-election in Iredell County. The last one was Diane Hamby, and she was the lone Democrat on it. That was when the incinerator stuff was going on, and she lives out that way, and kind of got a little local famous and got elected, and then didn't make it the next time she ran. So that was the last time until this time when Brent Goddard come out of nowhere, kind of. I wouldn't say that. Come out of Mooresville. That's nowhere. We all know where it's at. But come out and actually come in second place in that race, and it bumped Brad Stroud, who's had a 4-year term that'll end, I guess, this December, I think. Bumped him out as his trying to get reelected, and it ended up Scotty Brown come in first, who's been on the board for a while, and Brent come in second, and then we had Bert Conley come in third. So a little different in that perspective. Did a lot of studying on this. I'm one of these kind of people that like to really go into the numbers and see how did this happen, what happened, and where it was. And it appears pretty simple. Of course, the population's down there too, but South Iredell, even on a percentage-wise, still voted better than Statesville North did on percentage-wise of voters. And so South Iredell had a better turnout. More people, but a better turnout of those more people also. And for whatever reason, the South really went heavy with Brent Goddard and Lisa Meyer and Scotty Brown. Those are the ones that were pretty much winning all the different polls from Troutman down. And to tell you the truth, I really think it had a lot to do with the increase in what people pay property tax, especially in the south end of the county. Theirs went up tremendously after the last revalve. Now, know this. There's another revalve coming in 2027. So we're getting ready to see where we're at now. And I know the commissioners I don't know if they've actually voted on it, but they're looking at a plan or going to start a plan to spend probably 60, maybe 70 million. Nothing goes as cheap as you think on a new courthouse here in Statesville. And that's going to be a pretty expensive undertaking. I still personally, when I was county commissioner, I asked them for the bailiff sheets just to see how much time we're getting in. And at that time, that was in 2018, I think it was, they were talking about this. They hadn't actually got to more than about 30, 31 hours in any given week, a bailiff did. So I kind of told them then, I said, when y'all start getting 40 hours in, you let me know. Then we'll start talking about another building or something bigger. I still wonder if that might not be true, even though we have worked on the General Assembly side, me and Vicki Sawyer, Todd Carver, Gray Mills, actually, when Gray was in there, and Mitchell Setzer, to get a public defender. And we hope that that's helping the situation and moving along. But with e-courts, we're still learning it. It may have slowed it back down again. But I do believe we could use the space over there more wisely. So just letting you know that. Neil got he's in here. Can't hear. Let's see here. All right. So anyway, just thought that would be a interesting thing to see what they're going to end up doing with this courthouse situation. I'd sure like to see the hours work before I did anything right now. So moving on a little bit quicker here. And like I said, if anybody wants to call and talk about that. And, of course, the new high school, and the thing was drugged by the school board and the county commissioner somewhat. The new high school didn't help things any at all. Because right now, this is, went from 80-some million up to about 130-some million, and there still has to be ball fields and athletic department stuff talked about, which could possibly be $30+ million for that school. So there's a lot of things that's got to happen here. I'm sure there's a lot of things got to happen all over the place. So one thing I will get into also, so I see Mondani in New York City He now has his city council considering raising the minimum wage to $30 an hour. And it will phase in over 5 years. That will put them at the highest in the nation of any city or state at $30 an hour minimum wage. Now, the funny part about this is, if you ask me, is the city doesn't actually have the power to vote this in place. So I'm curious to see why his city council's debating this. I guess they feel like if they pass it, it will put pressure on Albany. That's where the state capital is, to get something done up there. All I know is high rent and cost of goods plus this will kill small business in New York City. And we've watched this happen now. You know, it's funny. I thought the mayors of New York City was going to make New York City more affordable. This is a bait and switch, y'all. This won't make New York City more affordable. This will make everything go up that much more. And that's what they don't understand. The minimum wage, if you raise this to $30 an hour, there's no way kids are going to get hired to do jobs. It's going to kill these. And we're trying to train young people how to work. That's why the minimum wage is there. People say, oh, you can't make a living. If you're getting paid the minimum wage, I think you need to really sit down and do some self-reflecting, because something's up. That's the very start and that's the bottom. And if you're not a very young person that has no experience, you need to either take a look at a different job or figure out why you're not making more. That's not how this works. Raising the minimum wage will not get you out. AOC talked about this, that she could raise the minimum wage and that nobody would be in poverty. Think about how smart she is. The bottom's always going to be in poverty, because that's the way it works, because prices will align to the medium wage. So doing this, and all the people in the unions, they think, oh, this is great. This is great. This is going to help us. Amazon, they got people up there. They got a big Amazon thing. What's going to happen is you're going to see Amazon take that distribution center and move it somewhere else out of New York City's area to get lower wages so that they can compete with the other people delivering products like FedEx and whatever. This is how you drive people away from you. You know, we talked about this a while back on the show about the people from Chicago, the mayor up there. He's crazy as all get out. And he's going to charge a tax per head of employees that work in the city limits of Chicago to raise money. Well, then why in the world would you want to have people that you hire work in the city limits if you got to pay a fee for each one of them? These progressive socialist attitudes just don't make it. This is how you're going to see something fail miserably. And they tried this out with $21 in Seattle, and it about put everybody out of business out there that worked 10 people or less. They couldn't stand it. This one's going to affect all, too. That gives them more time. If you're smaller, you'll get a little more time, 2 more years, but you're still going to have it in effect in 7 years from now total. So you'll be raising wages all along as you raise your prices to try to keep your profitability. I think the problem that socialists don't realize is y'all's ideas work pretty good until you run out of the other people's money. It starts getting a lot tougher then. All right. So let's get into this a little bit. Like I said, if anybody wants to call and talk to me, 704-873-9929. This will be a good time to give us a holler, see what you got on your mind. Old Dominion University, bless them, had a crazy person show up and shoot one of the ROTC officers that was teaching a course in a class and injured 2 others. The ROTC students subdued the shooter. I guess they all rushed him maybe at one time. I'm not sure how they did it. But when it all got said and done, the shooter was dead. Not sure how he came about dying. All I know is that the Old Dominion ROTC took care of business. I'm hoping maybe this will thwart some of the people out there. And this guy had been planning something bad for a while. He had actually, back in 2016, been busted by the FBI for working with an ISIS extreme group here in the United States, planning on a mass shooting, something like what happened at Fort Hood. He was a Army National Guardsman and got radicalized by a Muslim cleric here in the United States, and they're preaching of what's right and what you got to do. And anyway, he stayed 8 years in jail. Should have been sentenced to 20 because he was trying to buy explosives and firearms, and the FBI picked up on it and arrested him. He only got 11 years. Did some kind of, and here's the problem, folks. Here's the problem with our judicial system. Got out in 8 years because he did some kind of drug rehabilitation treatment and got out. Now he's in jail. How's he on drugs to start with there? And what kind of treatment did they do for him to allow him to get out 3 years early? Was there really any kind of treatment going, or just one of those soft liberal programs we put in that just allows criminals back out on the street before they serve their time? Should have been 20 years when he was convicted. That was the maximum sentence for somebody that was planning a mass shooting. So guess what? He gets out, signs back up for classes at Old Dominion where he went many years ago. And the next thing you know, he's going to do a mass shooting again. Do we not check on these things before we release people? Do we not understand their psyche? Do they lie to us? Can we not figure this out? We got people hired and trained that are supposed to be able to understand whether people are lying to us or not. Evidently, somebody missed this really, really bad. But like I said, the good news is he got to go see Allah quicker than some. And I think we need to really think about how we go about letting people out early. We see this all the time. We watched it with the guy down in Charlotte that killed that young lady on the train. He had been in a revolving door of going in and out, in and out, in and out. And the last time he got let out by Roy Cooper, who was governor then, because it was cruel and unusual to keep people pinned up during COVID. They could catch it. I'm just saying these things so you got time to think, because it doesn't make any sense. I will say I'm proud of the FBI for doing their job and catching him, at least doing their part. And that's what I'm pleased with our law enforcement. The FBI, I think the last time I heard, had caught like 6 out of the top 10 most wanted. And those have all been in this year. So they're going about their business. We just need the other side of the judicial to help us out a little bit. Speaking of judicial, so here we go. A judge in Massachusetts has temporarily paused the termination of temporary protected status for immigrants from Somalia. So what this really means is they have a limited time that they can be here on this temporary protected status. Remember the guy that wouldn't go back to, I think it was, was it Guatemala? No, I can't remember now exactly where he was. I should have wrote that down. But he didn't want to go home because it was too bad. But yet he got in trouble here for hauling people around that were illegal and also beating up on his girlfriend, and we tried to deport him. Well, he was under this temporary protected status because things were so bad where he came from that he didn't feel safe about going back. But yet he committed crimes here. Pretty much what we have here with the immigrants from Somalia. U.S. District Judge Allison D. Burroughs' ruling said that there would be weighty consequences if Somalia's TPS, temporary protected status designation, is allowed to expire Tuesday. Advocates filed an emergency motion in federal court seeking to pause the termination after the Trump administration promised to end the designation last month during an immigration crackdown in Minnesota, where the Somalians live. In a statement, temporary means temporary. Country conditions in Somalia have improved to the point that it no longer meets the law requirements for temporary protective status, allowing Somalian nationals to remain temporarily in the United States. It is contrary to our national interests. The Trump administration is putting America first. Representatives of the plaintiffs fighting the termination said in a statement that even though the order is temporary and many battles lie ahead, they are heartened by the interim protection today's order affords all Somalian people in the U.S. who have TPS or pending TPS applications. Over 1,000 people will face a myriad of grave risks, including detention, deportation, physical violence if removed to Somalia, and forced separation from family members. Well, when they come over here, we told them it was temporary. Burris said implementing an administrative stay and deferring ruling on the postponement gives both sides time to file briefs on the emergency motion. While this stay is in effect, the termination shall be null, void, and of no legal effect. So you can't do the termination ruling. Said nothing that those with TPS status or pending applications will retain rights, including eligibility for work authorization and protection against deportation and detention. In a statement, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security said the ruling by a judge appointed by former President Barack Obama is the latest example of preventing Trump from restoring integrity to the U.S. immigration system. Now, that being said, Kristi Noem, I don't think I talked about this the other week, but wanted to. So Kristi Noem is out at Homeland Security, and a senator from Oklahoma, Markwayne Mullins, is in. This is a former MMA, martial arts, fighter. Now he must fight the Dems as they continue to hold the funding for this important agency. Senate Dems playing games with the House bill to didn't want to reinstate funding fully for DHS, so no funding for ICE and Border Patrol. So now we got somebody totally different in, and I will say, Kristi Noem, bless her heart, did probably do the job she could. I think we should have went about holding back funding instead of going in and grabbing people as aggressively as we did. I understand why they did it, and if they hadn't been bothered by people who were breaking the law and interfering with them, they probably wouldn't have been the altercations. It probably would have been a lot smoother, but I do believe in the future you will see ICE and the Border Patrol both, and the Trump administration both say, fine, don't turn them over, don't get any federal money. And I think that's the way it should work. If you don't want to participate with the federal government, then the federal government shouldn't participate with you. I'll be curious to see how that goes down and what happens there, see how he takes action, what's going to go on. So, all right. So, here's where it gets really tricky with our judicial. Get this. There appears to be a very concerning scandal with our federal judicial branch. The Federal Judicial Center. This is the supposed non-biased educational reference for judges to make rulings on cases for whatever. So in other words, you're a judge. You don't know it all. You need help, but you got to trust your sources. So we have this Judicial Center, Federal Judicial Center, which is a reference for them. So if they're into some kind of case, they can go to it and get non-biased information to help them determine what should be the right ruling. Now, the bad thing is they end up putting liberal people in or the wrong type of judges in, and they don't look at this stuff, and here you go. So it come to find out that they got kind of hacked in their resources when it come to make rulings on cases that involve climate change and fossil fuel companies. The problem here in this section is that there was actually a ghost author along with 2 accredited doctorates that did the work on climate change and on fossil fuel. The ghost author is actually a liberal trial lawyer who takes fossil fuel companies, oil companies, or natural gas, whatever, to court and sues them. And basically, it sues them because one of the cases he did was because they didn't put warnings on the pumps or wherever you get the fossil fuels that tells you you could be endangering the environment by using these. And since those weren't on the pumps, then they sued them, and that's how they're trying to get money out of them. So crazy times there. The problem with this is right now, get back on my screen here. The problem with this is, if you look at it, there's going to be so many cases now overturned. There's going to be so many issues from this because now the perceived bias has been shown, and all the cases that use this as a reference point, the judges that made their rulings, are going to now get appealed because of the bias in the center. Now, my question is, who vets this? Surely there's somebody out there that vets this. Surely there's somebody. And who didn't do their job? Or did they do their job? And this is what they wanted. So when your source that you rely on isn't reliable, now where do you go to make your decisions? And sadly, I think we see this true. I'm thinking that there's a whole lot of judges that don't, on our federal side, that don't even go to this reference center and look at the information available. And maybe that's a blessing now that we showed. And I think they need to go through the whole litany of different references and different opinions and find out where they came from. And is it truly the author that put it there, did the research? It was peer reviewed, and it is good research. So I think we need to look at that. I think we need to try to figure that out and decide whether these judges are even making close to the right decisions. So now, if you see a decision that comes across from a federal judge, just like that lady who cited the temporary pause, the temporary protection status that was going to expire, not really given any basis, just our gut feeling it was going to cause a lot of problems with some people who were here temporarily. Now we got all this other. We got a lot of problems in this country. And a lot of it's happening on the judicial side. And I don't know how we go about fixing it necessarily, but the cleansing would not be a bad thing of getting rid of quite a few. I'm wondering if we don't need to put time limits on a lot of these district judges and a lot of the other lower judges that are in the federal court system instead of having the job for life. So I think we need to take a serious look at this. Now, all right. As crazy as it gets, and I just really have one this week, and then we'll go on break here and we'll get back with Pat Harrigan. But the head priest and dean of the Trinity Episcopal Cathedral in downtown Pittsburgh is facing charges after being accused of stealing more than $1,000 in baseball cards from a Walmart. The very Reverend Aidan Smith was arrested February 27th by police just after leaving the Walmart in Economy Borough. It's a different name for a borough, just outside of Pittsburgh, with 27 packs of baseball cards concealed under his clothing and in a cardboard box, according to the court records. Reverend Smith, 42, was charged with receiving stolen property and retail theft. police responded to a call from Walmart security who said Smith was in the store again after having stolen from it in the previous days. Police said Walmart security video shows Smith also taking baseball cards each of the 4 previous days and leaving without paying. Walmart valued the stolen baseball cards at $1,099.99. Got to get it all there. In a message last week to the cathedral members, the Right Reverend Keatlan Solak, Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese in Pittsburgh, said diocese officials will investigate the situation, follow the church canons that lay out the process for handling clergy misconduct. I've spoken with Aiden and assured him our prayers for him in this difficult time. Please pray for Aiden. And this is a quote from the bishop. Please pray for Aiden, for Melanie and their children, for the entire cathedral congregation as we grieve this news, for everyone involved in a hard situation. Smith had been on administrative leave since late January, according to Solak. The diocese did not explain why. Smith's defense lawyer declined to comment. So he was already on administrative leave when he decided he needed to go steal the baseball cards. You know, every once in a while, even in Pittsburgh at this time of year, you get a bright sunny day, the wind blows a warm breeze, the smell of spring's in the air. You know, the boys are in Florida, spring training. Everybody gets excited about baseball. I think this time he got a little too excited, and it's going to cost him. All right, folks, hang in there. Coming back, got Congressman Pat Harrigan, second half of the show. Stay tuned.
Kids across America are going to school hungry. Millions of kids every day. But one simple thing can help change all of this for a hungry child in America. Good, healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
We all want more for North Carolina. More boundless views, more adventures in the outdoors, and more clean roads to get there. But to get more, we have to do less. Less littering, that is. Make it your nature to trash your trash and keep NC clean. And we'll all have more reasons to love North Carolina. Litter less, get more. For more on the 7 outdoor NC Leave No Trace principles, visit OutdoorNC.com. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station.
We all play a role in keeping our community safe.
Every day, we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good, for others not so much.
But that's life.
It's when something doesn't seem quite right that it's time to pay attention.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Bravo, Brenda. You've always been a saver. Price matching your price matches. The self-proclaimed queen of extreme couponing. But this time, you've truly outdone yourself. By saving for this electric vehicle, you're locking in up to $1,000 a year in fuel and maintenance savings, which will leave you saying, cha-ching, every time you unplug. Good for your wallet, great for the planet. That's the power of EV. Sponsored by the ANC Clean Energy Technology Center and the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters in cooperation with the station.
Kids across America are going to school hungry. Millions of kids every day. But one simple thing can help change all of this for a hungry child in America. Good, healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
We all
Back here with the second half of the show. I think I got my guest on the line, so we're going to bring in Congressman Pat Harrigan. How are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are you, Jeff?
Oh, doing wonderful, doing wonderful. Hey, man, good to hear from you. Where are you in D.C.? Are you in the district? Where are you at today?
No, I'm in the district. I was supposed to be up in D.C. today, but they kicked us right one day because of all these storms. So I'll be headed up tomorrow, get an extra day back here in the district and with family and checking up on the office. So it's all good.
All right. Hey, great to have you on. Last week I had retired General Mel Speece on, and he talked to us a lot about the strategy, whatever. But I know you're in the thick of the things up there. So what all are we seeing? What do you think is going to happen with that? Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do this. I think everybody knows you, but I live in an echo chamber. Who is Pat Harrigan, our congressman for the 10th district? I forgot what district I was in when I was on the show earlier, like a dummy. But anyway, who is Pat?
They changed so much, Jeff. Well, hey, I can't blame you because they changed so much in North Carolina. It seems like every couple of years we're hopping, but I actually think we got some stability for a little while.
A little bit.
Thanks to the legislature. But in any event, I got a military background, West Point graduate. I was a former commander in the Special Forces, the Green Berets, and then started companies in the defense industry, and then ended up moving into Congress, and I'm in my first term. Just finished up our first year, getting our second year started here, but very heavy defense background. And so any questions you got about Iran, you certainly had a great guest with General Speece, retired. He's an incredible asset.
He is
for our part of the country here, and glad you had him on, but happy to provide any context or commentary you'd like, Jeff.
Well, there's a lot going on right now, and I think everybody's concerned. I know I went to the fuel pump this morning, and I'm almost thinking I need to call my boss man in North Carolina House and talk about gouging. Diesel fuel before this was only about 40-cent difference, maybe 50, than regular gas. And that's kind of where I think it should be. Well, right now, we're more like $1.50 difference. And so, yeah. In North Carolina, U.S., we don't get a lot of oil from there, but I understand the commodity market. I trade soybeans and corn and soybean meal and corn every day. So I get that. But I swear it seems like the disconnect between the two is a little tough. So, you got the Straits of Hormuz over there. What are we going to do there? What do you think, Pat?
Well, I definitely agree with you. It seems like diesel fuel's up higher than anything else. I got a diesel truck, and I don't really have a good explanation for it. I think somebody kind of does need to look into it, Jeff. I think it's a good plan because, look, it doesn't actually need to be refined as much as the other fuels, and heck, I just paid like $5.19 a gallon. When I took a little trip down to Florida last week in my truck, and the regular is in the kind of high threes.
Yeah.
But look, whenever you have a interruption in the Middle East, you're going to have higher gas prices. It's just the way that it's going to go. And you've got the Strait of Hormuz, which is a very critical bottleneck for the exportation of Middle Eastern oil from many different countries around the rest of the world. And so when you have that interruption, you're going to have a spike in oil prices. But that spike should only last effectively as long as this conflict lasts, which I think all of us are hoping that it wraps up very, very quickly.
Well, I do too. I hoped it was going to be maybe this week. I think it's going to go a little bit longer. For me, too, on the farming side, this is called to fertilize. Here we are getting ready to go to plant in the South. Florida's already started planting, and Georgia, I'm pretty sure, is getting really close. And so we're talking about it here. It'll probably be right 1st of April. But, this is jacked up fertilizer costs all of a sudden out of nowhere. And I get why they did it. I walk into a meeting and somebody tells me right off the get-go, hey, you give me about 3 or 4 more weeks and I can make about 11 atomic bombs. I'm going to take them at their word. I don't care if they are bluffing me. I'm going to take them at their word.
Well, and I think the important context here is look, the Ayatollah and the Iranian regime has been a significant thorn in the side of the entire West for the last 50 years. And I think President Trump just got to a point where he's like, you know what? We're just not going to leave this problem to our kids. We're going to take care of it. We believe that we can take care of it without putting boots on the ground. At the very least, on the spectrum of outcomes that you could have here, on one side, maybe the Iranian people rise up. I think that's, looking at it a little bit too with hopeful eyes.
Yeah.
I don't think that's likely to happen. But on the flip side, hey, we just mowed the lawn. We mowed the lawn in the most significant way that we have in the last generation. And, we took a 4-inch cut on the grass, and we're not going to have to worry about that grass for another 4 or 5 years, is kind of the other end of the spectrum of outcomes here. And so, you know what? We got to pay a little bit of price at the pump. And as you know, this is going to reverberate through the entire economy, because as the price of fuel goes, so goes the rest of the economy, because all of your baseline costs and expenditures are based off energy. And so we're going to have hopefully only a little short-term pain here for a long-term gain, regional stability of the United States interests overseas, as well as a reduced threat from Iran and exporting terrorism up to and including, on the homeland of the United States. And then there's always that nuclear threat that Iran has never wanted to give up. So, hey, if we can keep this contained in a very short way, and I think the president is confident that this administration can do that through our military might, then it's absolutely an investment worth making for the long term. But it has to drive positive outcomes for the American people and American interests, or it's going to sour pretty quickly.
Well, I'm one of those guys. If we have to come and put you back in the place where you belong, or if you have a conflict with us, it's whatever you've got, we're going to take for a while till we get paid back for all it cost us to do. So they're sitting on they got that oil there. I'm thinking once this is some point or whatever, they're going to have to do reparation to us on what it took to blow them up. I hate to tell them that, but that's the way I look at it. I think they help us repair ourselves and build our military supplies back up through oil that we're able to sell and do and whatever. They, like I said, you don't walk into a negotiation and go over and punch the biggest guy right in the nose in the room and think you're going to walk out of the room without getting messed up a little bit. It just don't happen.
No, that's exactly right. And I think if you look at the bigger picture here of what's going on, there's intentionality with dealing with Iran, with dealing with Venezuela, with dealing with Cuba. And President Trump has had to overcome historic weakness from the Biden administration over the past 4 years, where we basically signaled to the rest of the world, the United States is just going to kind of flop and flip over, and it's not really going to stand for anything. Well, that's obviously not the case. And now with showing America's military might, which unfortunately we had to do, right? When you're so weak, that guarantees you're going to fight. The only way to not fight is to actually be really strong. And the mark of really being very strong is not having to fight. The problem is we had to overcome all that weakness for the last 4 years. And we got to get the rest of the world, particularly our adversaries, to understand that the United States is not messing around anymore. And we're going to enforce our strategic interests. We're going to put America first. And we're going to do whatever it takes in order to do that. But the hope out of all of that effort is that we actually end up securing and enduring peace, and that we make sure that the United States of America's strategic interests are met around the world. Because, like it or not, we live in a global society, and our economy is so tied to stability around the world, our ability to export from this country, and our ability to have relatively inexpensive, particularly energy imports. And that's what really kind of makes the world go round. And so when you look at what President Trump has done, basically taking our strategic adversaries off of the chessboard and reducing the threat that they pose as an ancillary threat to Russia and China, preventing all of those different regimes from working together, that is absolutely in the strategic interests of the United States if we can pull it off. And when you look at Iran's oil reserves, and when you look at the control that we now have over Venezuela's oil, you very much put the United States in a completely different position than it was a year ago with respect to the petrodollar, which isolates and ensures American dominance with the dollar for generations to come. There's a lot of goodness that could come out of this if it turns out well.
Well, and Pat, let me ask you this. Do you think that we've maybe kind of called China's bluff? Because they're needing that oil. I'd say Iran probably supplies half, maybe, or more. I don't know. I know Russia does too. But I know, I mean, Iran supplies a lot. Let's put it that way. Maybe not half, 40, 50, whatever the number is. It's enough to hurt them. with the economy that they have and the way they burn fossil fuel. Don't we call their hand and see if they show up and try to help protect ships in that Strait of Hormuz?
I think that's exactly what we're doing. We're putting the screws to Russia and China right now. I mean, is it specifically about them directly? Maybe, maybe not. But does it affect them? Absolutely, it affects them. And that's kind of the overall strategy of taking the periphery threats that Russia and China's allies pose to the United States of America, flipping those tables and just saying, look, we're going to take it right to you. And we know, China, you're a net importer of energy and not an exporter of energy. And so the first thing when Iran got attacked and the Ayatollah got killed that China did is they stopped their oil exports because they know that they're in the hurt box right now from an energy production perspective. That is part of a full spectrum conflict that President Trump is taking to this. It absolutely has economic impacts and strategies tied to it.
Well, I mean, to me, I think we quit playing checkers and we're playing chess now. I mean, because you look now Cuba is starting to talk to us because I think they're pretty much having rolling blackouts, if not pretty much all day long blackouts in that country because of Venezuela was where they were working with getting most of their petroleum issues. And so now they can't go. And so now they're willing to talk. So, those saying
it's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing how all of this works out, right, Jeff? I mean, look, you just show a little bit of American force. You show what we did in Iran a year ago. You show what we're doing in Iran right now with the Ayatollah getting taken out, first strike on day one. Yeah, you look at what we did with Maduro in Venezuela, actually going in and capturing that dictator and bringing him back to face justice in the United States of America. I mean, extracting the president of a foreign country. Cuba is looking at this and actually saying, holy smokes, we better not just walk to the negotiating table. We better run to the negotiating table with President Trump. And look, that's how we secure American interests. I mean, yeah, President Trump has taken a big whack at our foreign policy right now, but it is absolutely putting American interests first. And with Cuba being just 90 miles off the coast of Florida, obviously in the Western Hemisphere, we've got to lock down these foreign influences, particularly these communistic influences that we have that have just been creating chaos and failure in our own hemisphere, which undermines our security because that's what's driving all of the illegal immigration that we've seen over the last 4 years of President Biden. So there's a lot to be gained right now, and I think it's very instructive to everybody that President Trump's policies are being incredibly effective when Cuba is actually coming to the forefront in a very public way and saying, we want to make a deal.
Well, all right, and let's talk a little bit. Before we get done, we're going to talk about what you're maybe doing right now as far as bills you're looking at or gotten going. But anyway, right now, all right, so here, I don't know, it's so clever how this is going down, but you got the liberals that you're serving with there in Congress and in the Senate, and they're talking about how bad it is that we went after Iran, but yet they wanted us to drag into a war in the Ukraine that really had no repercussions to us. I can't remember when the Russians or the Ukrainians or whatever have really, Russia won't attack us. They may screw up and maybe hit a plane or do something goofy or whatever, but they're sorry. Just like us. But these other countries, Iran, that's why we can't let them have it. They're crazy. They're going to do something. Russia's too afraid, just like we are, to start that nuclear war, but not them, not Iran. So I love how the libs just think, the Ukraine and all that, that's a great cause. And we poured money in there like a bucket with a hole in the bottom of it and don't know where it really went and can't see what happened. And they can't even tell us where it went. But yet this is horrible that we're going after the Iranian regime, which is probably, especially the liberal women. It kills me because this society over there, that religion, those people, the women, they're treated worse than the pets in the house. I don't understand.
Well, I'll tell you, Jeff, what you just said reminds me of something that kind of struck me at the State of the Union with one of the things that President Trump brought up. You got all these Democrats that want to support Ukraine. And let me just tell you, the Democrats don't know how to win a war. They don't know how to use our military decisively, right? And so my biggest issue with Ukraine is we've never had a plan to win.
Yeah.
We just funnel hundreds of billions of dollars of American treasure over there without any plan to actually change the paradigm on the ground. And you've got all these, going back to the State of the Union, you've got all of these liberals that wear a little Ukraine pin, that stand up for Ukraine, that want to send hundreds of billions of dollars over there with absolutely no plan whatsoever. And they want to stand for everything that they're doing there. But they would not stand up for Irina Zarutska's mother, who was present in the chamber, whose Ukrainian daughter lost her life right here in Charlotte because of absolutely insane Democratic policies that allow recidivist criminals to just walk right out of jail instead of actually being held accountable. Yeah. And it actually killed this gal who escaped a war zone, but yet was brutally murdered right here in Charlotte, North Carolina. They could not stand for her. The Democrats simply do not have their priorities straight.
Well, I mean, when they wouldn't stand up, whenever he said, our main job is to protect United States citizens, not illegals, stand up, and none of them stood up. I mean,
not a single one of them stood up.
That told me all I needed to know. That told me all, and they'll say, "Oh, well, we did it on principle, or we did it on what?" No, you did it on because you love the wrong things. You don't understand what your job is there. It is to work for the American people. That's why I always love those people. Oh, well, they violated his constitutional rights. You've got to be an American citizen, but we're going to give you constitutional rights. We'll be nice to you, but that don't mean we have to give you anything of our Constitution if you're here illegally and not a citizen. Come on.
Yeah, and speaking of stuff that we've got coming down the pipe, so I'm actually leading a bill. Senator Cruz is leading it in the Senate. I'm leading it in the House. That actually, with last week's terrorist attack, we had a naturalized American citizen that had supported ISIS, was in jail, was let out of jail, and then committed this atrocity on behalf of ISIS and in defense of Iran. And what our bill is going to do is it's actually going to strip away naturalized citizenship if you support a terrorist organization.
Amen.
Very clean, very simple. But we've got to start prioritizing and making sure that we are supporting the needs of American citizens first and only. And that is what my Democratic friends just fail to understand, who they actually are there to represent. It confounds the heck out of me, because it's the most basic thing if you read the Constitution, what we should all be about. It doesn't mean America first, doesn't mean America only. But it does mean America first. It does mean American citizens first. And it does mean that American citizenship should be special. It's no longer special thanks to Joe Biden and 20 years worth of Democratic policy mistakes. We need to make American citizenship special again.
Well, I totally agree. Totally agree. And you keep watching all these different ones. They're either here illegally or for some crazy reason, just like what's going on with the Somalians, where they have temporary protective status. Well, it's temporary. Where's the judge? You got this liberal judge up there, and I talked about that earlier in the show. She's putting a temporary restraint on a temporary protective status. These people, they need to go home. They're up there chanting "Death to America," but yet they're asking us to give them temporary protective status. Are we crazy?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is. Yes, and we have been crazy. I mean, look, fundamentally, you've got to understand. When we had massive immigration into our country 100 years ago, we actually stopped it for a generation after that, because we wanted to make sure that everybody that came into this country actually assimilated and became an American. Mm-hmm. You've got folks that fundamentally are in this country and hate the United States of America.
Oh, yeah.
They hate our culture, what we stand for, everything that we've accomplished in the world. Those people have absolutely no place in the United States of America. We have to get them out. And everybody needs to be on that same page, or our country is going to rip itself in half.
Well, and you always love to hear the left say, well, we need to go ahead and stand up to Russia so we can fight them on their land instead of ours. Well, with Joe Biden's immigration policies, we're now having to fight them on our soil. They're here.
They're already here.
They're here.
They're already here.
We're having to fight them now.
They don't share They do not share our values, and they don't intend to.
And I'm sure there's people over there on that other side that are so sad that guy the other day at Old Dominion, my goodness, the cadets, they got him down, they subdued him, and he died. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. No, I mean, those cadets did exactly what they were supposed to do. They stepped up in an absolutely horrible situation and stabbed the guy to death.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you, I mean, what a problem we have created for ourselves. And that's why we need to follow through with what we promised to do in the 2024 election. And I'm telling you, we're doing it. It's not, happening without significant pushback. But the reality is if we don't get these people out of our country that hate our country, that do not share our values, that do not ever want to assimilate into American culture, then our country is in a whole lot of trouble.
Well, we are. The worst thing I always say that can happen to you is getting shot in the back in your own foxhole. And that's what's going to happen to us. That's what's going to happen. Yeah. Well, hey, one thing I haven't said is congratulations on your primary win. I wasn't real worried about you, Pat. I hate to say that, but I just really wasn't. Anyway, I was glad to see you could overcome sin. That was our big job.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's primaries. They force you into all sorts of situations, scenarios, but I was very grateful to come out of there with a nice win. Look, I take this job and this role very seriously, particularly the national security aspect, the work that we do on the Armed Services Committee. But look, we also all want to live in an incredible place that we live in right now, which is Central Western North Carolina. We want to see that stay a very special place, not just for our own existence and experience, but for that of our kids and our grandkids. And I take that responsibility that the folks in the 10th District have given me very, very seriously. And I'm deeply honored to come out of the primary the way that we did.
Well, I appreciate it. And I feel comfortable, but you never know. But I feel comfortable that you're going to be fine in the general election. I'll have you back on, before that time comes in November for sure. Maybe a couple times if we can. We got to make
sounds great.
We got to make sure we keep the House. They're going to do everything they can. They're going to run wild. They're going to cheat and do whatever. But we got to make sure we get it, folks. I will tell you this about Pat, my congressman. He reached out to me here the other day. We actually have a bill in the House that's filed, and it's kind of sitting over in the Senate right now, along with about everything else we got in the North Carolina Senate. And it had to do with the protection, basically, of church services and people not being able to come in and violate them like they did in Minnesota. And we're hoping that bill's going to move. I think a lot of the people thought, that's whatever, Bill. But now that we saw what happened up there with crazy Don Lemon and all that mess, it's a real thing. And I think people get confused. They think that churches are public property and they can do as they please, but they're not. Churches have members. They're not public property, but we welcome all into the faith of our Savior, Jesus Christ. But with that, like anything, being an American citizen, responsibility comes with it, and we will not tolerate you denying us our ability to worship our Lord.
Amen to that, Jeff, and I'm glad that you're behind that bill. I support it 100%. And I'd tell everybody to get on the phone with their state representatives to make sure that it goes forward. But you're just going to get a bunch of phone calls from that, and you're already behind it. Folks need to reach out to State House and State Senate leadership. Get that thing moving along. We got to have that for our churches across the state and the safety and security of our congregations. So, Jeff, you're a good man. You're doing good work up there. Let me know where I can be helpful to you, and I'll be back on the program anytime. I really appreciate everything you do.
Pat, I appreciate you and all the hard work you're doing. Be safe up there. I feel like you might be in harm's way, as crazy as these people are. Of course, maybe all of us that are elected are. Who knows? But be safe, and I hope your family and y'all take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Well, thanks, Jeff. Best to you guys. Take care. See ya.
All right. We're getting down here near the time, aren't we, Bryson? It's getting about that time. Got a lot to pray about. A lot of turmoil going on in this world. A lot of crazies. But hey, always remember Jesus Christ. He's your Savior. God's got this. He's in charge. But That don't mean we don't, I always say he wrote the book, we live the movie. That don't mean the movie ain't going to have some ups and downs for sure. So, dear Heavenly Father, dear Lord, just I first pray for our people that are in our armed services, that you protect them. We have already lost some lives, and I'm so sad for that. And I appreciate their ultimate sacrifice for me, my family, for my country. Lord, I pray you just watch over them. Let us complete this mission. Be with us. As the saying goes, if it's meant to be, you will make it be. And so, Lord, I just pray that. I pray you give all of us wisdom and discernment, especially us who are elected, Lord, to be the leaders that you want us to be, and to make sure, dear Lord, we do everything we can to lead this country back to you. So I pray, Lord, we do that. I pray all this in your holy, precious Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Folks, until next week, take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Taking Care of NC. We hope today's program offered valuable insights into the topics shaping North Carolina's future. Stay informed, stay engaged, and join us next time as we continue exploring the issues that matter most to our state. Until then, take care, and thank you for being a part of the conversation.
Country is 550 AM WAME, 92.9 W225BD, Statesville.
When your celebration of life is prepared, it becomes a gift to your family later. No one should have to pay for a loss when they're experiencing one. Paying in advance protects